Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest Colorado TV Translator Association.
If you have a news topic or event you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show runs Thursday at noon and is uploaded to our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page to watch on demand. Today is January 31st, 2019, and now the News at Noon.
From the Durango Herald, the teen mother of an infant who was shot in the face at the New Mexico motel has been released from jail. A Gallup Independent reports a district court judge on Monday ordered the release of Cheyenne Nelson after ruling she was not a flight risk. Nelson had been in jail after December 8th shooting of her 8-month-old girl at the Zia Motel in Gallup, New Mexico. The 18-year-old told police she and her boyfriend, 21-year-old Tyrell Bitsilli, were taking a shower when her 3-year-old son found a gun and accidentally shot his sister. Police said the girl will likely lose an eye and part of her hearing. Nelson and Bitsilli are facing child abuse charges. Both have pleaded not guilty.
From the Journal Report Photo Colorado Avalanche Info Center. In December, an avalanche east of Rico buried a snowmobiler who was saved by his companions, according to a recently released report by the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. On December 16th, 2 snowmobilers at the base of Hermosa Peak were caught in an avalanche and 1 was buried. No injuries were reported. According to a January 26 CAIC incident report, a group of 9 snowmobilers traveled up the Barlow Creek Road from Colorado Highway 145. They rode around in deep snow in the meadows at the base of Hermosa Peak in Dolores County. Some in the group decided to ride up a low-angle slope that was below a steeper slope on the lower part of the peak. There was wind-drifted snow at the top of the slope and evidence of old avalanche activity. After one snowmobiler came off the slope, 2 others began climbing towards the top of a ridge. When one rider higher up maneuvered to extend his climb, the slope released. The avalanche broke along the top of the ridgeline and was at least 350 feet wide. As it slid, a snowmobiler climbing the slope turned to evade debris but got knocked off his machine and was buried except for one arm. His snowmobile was buried. The other snowmobiler caught in the slide higher up managed to ride out of the slide. Group members quickly located and dug out the buried rider, whose helmet had been torn off. At first, he was unresponsive to verbal commands, but after his airway was cleared, he came to and was unhurt, according to the report. The identities of the snowmobilers have not been released. As is often the case, the group could have done a few things to avoid the situation, according to a CAIC analysis. They also did some important things right, and their actions led to a good outcome. The group was equipped with avalanche rescue equipment and worked together to rescue the buried rider in about a minute, the report states. They quickly uncovered his head and cleared his airway. The report faulted the group for having more than one person on the slope at the same time, not checking the avalanche forecast before heading into backcountry, and changing the type of terrain they were riding without checking or discussing it. The forecast warned about triggering avalanches in wind-drifted areas, which is an area that slid. So far, 3 avalanches have caught backcountry recreationists, killing 1 in the San Juan Mountains this winter.
From the Durango Herald, an autopsy reveals an armed robbery suspect was shot at least 40 times by members of the U.S. Marshals Service outside an Albuquerque motel. The Albuquerque Journal reports that court records say 32-year-old Wes Allen had a gun on June 7th as he drove his car toward an officer before the task force opened fire. Records say U.S. Marshals had been looking for Allen in connection with several armed robberies in the Farmington area. The medical investigator determined Allen was high on methamphetamine when he died. The Journal says spokespeople for the U.S. Marshals Service and the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office have not answered questions about the incident. Special Prosecutor Michael Cox of the District Attorney's Office says the Allen shooting has not been assigned to an attorney and probably won't be for a couple months, maybe longer.
From the Journal File Photo, inmates with mental health disorders at Montezuma County Detention Center and La Plata County Detention Facility will receive more services and treatment starting this year with mental health expansion funding from the Colorado Department of Human Services. In January, CDHS announced $40,000 in jail-based behavioral health services mental health expansion funds for Montezuma County for the first 6 months of 2019 and $97,000 annually starting July 1st. La Plata, Archuleta, Clear Creek, and Routt counties also received funding. Montezuma County Sheriff Steve Nowlin said about 45% of the 90 inmates in the county jail are suffering from some sort of behavioral or mental health issue. He said the jail has never been able to properly address their needs. Quote, all we've ever been able to do is evaluate our inmates and identify those problems and give referrals, but it doesn't ever go any further beyond that at times, Nowlin said. Nowlin said Montezuma County Sheriff's Office is working in coordination with La Plata County Sheriff's Office and Access Health System to carry out the mental health expansion. Stephanie Allred, Senior Clinical Director for Access Health System, said the money will help fill in gaps to make services more complete. The goal, she said, is to reduce recidivism and the amount of time that people with mental illnesses spend in jail. She said there is currently a full-time therapist at the county jail who evaluates inmates and a psychiatrist who comes once a month. The expansion funding will now pay to bring that psychiatrist in twice a month, Allred said. The money may also be used to pay for medication. Allred said the expansion funding could help inmates receive some of that treatment locally to avoid long delays in waiting for a bed elsewhere. Quote, we're going to try to catch things earlier, provide more treatment to see if we can get people stable so they don't need to wait for a hospital bed in Pueblo, Allred said. Nowlin said both the mental health expansion funding, a new state directive to prioritize empty beds at mental health facilities for court and jail referrals, could reduce those delays. Once inmates with mental health issues are released from jail, Nowlin said, the funding will help create a release plan to connect them with services in the community. Allred said the funding expansion is relatively small, just under $100,000 annually, but will help fill in gaps and provide more care directly to inmates during and after incarceration.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, local charges have been dismissed against a 47-year-old Kansas man who was found in a Cortez motel on January 24th with a 14-year-old girl who ran away from her Topeka home. He will be extradited and prosecuted in Kansas. Shortly after, Michael S. Fitzgerald appeared in Montezuma County Court on Wednesday afternoon, where charges of harboring a minor and second-degree kidnapping were dismissed. District Attorney Will First for the 22nd Judicial District of Colorado issued a press release stating members of Kansas law enforcement and the FBI requested that the 22nd Judicial District dismiss the pending criminal case against Fitzgerald. First wrote that he anticipates Fitzgerald being extradited to Kansas in the next few days to face felony charges there. There's also a chance that Fitzgerald may be indicted on federal charges, he wrote. According to a felony affidavit, Cortez police located Fitzgerald at the Days Inn by Wyndham Cortez about 11:30 p.m. on January 24th, based on vehicle tracking information from a detective with the Topeka Police Department. He was with a 14-year-old girl who had been missing since January 22nd. First also said that shortly after Fitzgerald's arrest, officials in Shawnee County, Kansas, issued a felony warrant for Fitzgerald on allegations of child abduction and interference with parental custody. He is being held on a no-bond hold from Kansas. And now let's take a look at the weather.
Looking at the national weather map first, several rounds of lower elevation rains and mountain snows are expected to impact the western U.S. through this weekend, with flooding and debris flow concerns near the recent California burn scar areas. Heavy snow for the Sierras and northern Cascades, heavy lake effect snow downwind from the Great Lakes, and rains and thunderstorms ranging from the Texas Gulf Coast region up through the southern plains. Which brings us to our regional look. Very little change in the forecast from the last few days. A deep trough remains over the eastern half of the U.S., while a large ridge of high pressure stays put over the western half. We're wedged between these two features with a weak area of low pressure making its way underneath the ridge, but we won't pose any threat to us as it drops southeastwards and rides along the Mexican border before finally losing its low pressure characteristics and becomes absorbed into the average system. So a few high clouds will move overhead today, and Friday will be the last mostly cloud-free day we see through the weekend. And that brings us to our localized DCTV 5-day outlook. Today sunny with a high near 39 degrees. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 19. Then Friday even a little warmer, sunny with a high near 43. Friday night partly cloudy with a low around 25. And then we are still looking at a small 20% chance for rain and snow late on Saturday morning, and then a slight chance of rain showers after noon, mostly cloudy with a high near 44 degrees. South winds pick up a bit from 5 to 15 miles an hour. Then Saturday night, however, rain showers are at a 70% chance, likely before 2 a.m. Then rain and snow mix likely overnight, cloudy with a low around 32 degrees. degrees. Sunday morning, we have risen to an 80% chance for rain and snow showers, becoming all snow showers after 8 a.m., mostly cloudy with a high near 40 and breezy. Sunday night, the storm lessens with a slight chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy with a low around 27. And that will continue for the beginning of next week with a chance of snow showers Monday, mainly after 11 a.m., mostly cloudy skies with a high near 39 degrees. Monday night continues with a chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy with a low around 23. And again, Tuesday, there's another chance for snow showers to continue, but partly sunny skies with a high near 31 degrees, breezy, and getting colder again with Tuesday night, partly cloudy and a low down around 11 degrees. And don't forget to take photos of your snow totals and share them on DCTV's Dove Creek's local weather photos group page, or email them to us here at the studio, dcbnnews@gmail.com, to be posted on our weather segments next week. And now, back to the news.
From the Cortez Journal, a violent two-vehicle crash Monday afternoon injured Cortez City Councilman Mike Levy, who was recovering Wednesday at St. Mary's Medical Center in Grand Junction. The crash occurred at the intersection of East Empire Street and Colorado Highway 145. A work truck with a Sparks Plumbing and Heating emblem was southbound on the highway when it collided with the Toyota pickup truck driven by Levy, according to Cortez police reports. The driver of the plumbing truck, Logan Vigil, age 32, was arrested on the scene at the scene on suspicion of DUI, said Cortez Police Chief Roy Lane. The crash remains under investigation. An expert has been called in to analyze the speed of the plumbing truck, Lane said. The work truck had severe front-end damage and ended up on the west shoulder facing north. Glass debris and a tire littered the intersection. Levy's damaged pickup truck was pushed off the roadway into a field. He was wearing a seatbelt, and Cortez Fire Protection District Chief said Cortez Fire Protection District Chief Jay Balfour. Levy was flown Monday evening from Southwest Memorial Hospital to St. Mary's. His wife, Gail, told the Journal he had surgery on a broken hand and broken ribs, but was in good spirits.
Reported in the Durango Herald, AP filed photo of Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser. Colorado's new Attorney General said Wednesday the state will withdraw from a lawsuit challenging one of the Obama administration's biggest climate change initiatives. Democrat Phil Weiser's announcement signaled a reversal from his predecessor, Republican Cynthia Kaufman, who signed Colorado onto a multi-state lawsuit seeking to roll back the Clean Power Plan. Quote, instead, we'll be on the side supporting it, Weiser said. Speaking at the Outdoor Retailer and Snow Show in Denver, Weiser promised other legal actions to restore or retain environmental protections. He said Colorado would join two other multi-state lawsuits, one trying to block the Trump administration from rolling back tougher car mileage standards, and another that would preserve the right of individual states to impose higher mileage standards than the federal requirements. Quote, the rule of law requires a response to climate change. I will fight for that, Weiser said. Weiser took office this month after defeating Republican George Brauchler in November. Kaufman didn't run for re-election, but made an unsuccessful bid for the GOP nomination for governor. The Clean Power Plan, enacted in 2015 by President Barack Obama, would have increased federal regulation of emissions from the electricity plants and promoted cleaner energy, including natural gas and solar and wind power. Colorado would be at least the 18th state to sue the Trump administration over mileage standards. Trump wants to freeze the national standard at 30 miles per gallon, the level mandated by the Obama administration for 2020. Trump wants to block a subsequent increase to 36 miles per gallon by 2025. The Trump administration also wants to revoke a provision that allows California and other states to set higher mileage standards than the federal government. Colorado adopted California's standard in this past November. The Colorado Automobile Dealers Association filed a lawsuit in state court Monday challenging that action.
According to the Cortez Journal, since October 4th, Colorado's 22nd Judicial District Court has sought a sanity evaluation for Jeremiah P. Dameron at the Colorado Mental Health Institute at Pueblo. Now, almost 4 months later, the defendant is still awaiting that evaluation while in custody at the Montezuma County Detention Center. Dameron, age 38, was arrested July 20th, 2017, after Cortez Police and Sheriff Steve Nowlin found his mother's body beaten and burned in the backyard of his mobile home on the 7,000 block of County Road 21.75 near County Road G. Dameron faces 6 counts, including first-degree murder, after deliberation. He pleaded guilty by reason of insanity on October 2nd. The state is not seeking the death penalty, according to court records. In court for a status conference Monday at 9 a.m., District Court Judge Todd Plews said he received an email from CMHIP about 15 minutes before court was in session, stating the facility could admit Dameron on February 15th. Plews said if Pueblo does not transport Dameron by that date, then he would issue an order to show cause requiring the facility to explain the delay. Dameron's public defender, John Moran, stated in court that Plews initially requested the sanity evaluation on October 4th, then issued a second order on November 20th. As of January 28th, the defendant was still waiting at the county jail. Moran said orders to show cause have been issued in other courts. On January 23rd, Montezuma County Judge Jenny Lynn Lawrence issued CMHIP an order to show cause regarding delays in admitting an inmate with mental health issues who has harmed himself and others while in custody since April.
From Patch.com. Deer and elk trying to find a bit of rest and respite during the harshest winter months are being harassed by antler collectors in Colorado, who are turning a high profit on, quote, sheds or antlers shed by male animals during the winter, said the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The CPW Commission placed restrictions on the collection of sheds in 2018 to protect wintering wildlife from severe and constant stress from human activity, primarily shed collectors. Collecting shed antlers is prohibited on all public lands west of Interstate 25 between January 1st and April 30th. The agency said additional restrictions apply in the Gunnison Basin. Officials said anyone caught in possession of or collecting sheds illegally during this time, including shed horns and antlers and horns naturally attached to a skull plate, will face fines if they ignore the laws. The restrictions do not apply to private lands. However, CPW officials remind everyone that trespassing laws are always in effect. Shed collecting has become extremely popular over the past decade because there is a significant potential for high profit, said Area Wildlife Manager Bill DeVergy of Meeker in a statement. That has led to a major increase in the number of collectors spreading out in areas where elk and deer are trying to find a little respite from winter. The last thing wildlife needs at this time of year are people speeding by on ATVs or snowmobiles, dogs running around off-leash, and so on. It's a very serious problem. Each winter, as the snow begins to fall, elk and deer move down to their traditional winter range to search for what forage they can find, the agency said. But that food becomes scarce towards the end of the season. Quote, the animals survive primarily on the fat stores they've developed during summer and fall, the agency said. Deer, elk, and moose begin dropping their antlers in late winter. That's when hundreds of collectors, quote, begin an intense daily search for the freshest sheds, considered the most valuable, while the animals are still on their winter range and essentially starving, the agency said. Some shed collectors have been witnessed chasing a herd with a snowmobile to startle the males into dropping their antlers, the agency also said. If wildlife is pressed once a day or every other day, we would not have as much concern, said DeVerge. But these animals are constantly pressured now, often running from perceived threats dozens of times per day. People may not see it happen right away, but severely stressed animals and their offspring will starve to death when their fat stores are depleted. Wildlife officers are ramping up enforcement in 2019. Fines are $50 for each illegal shed, plus an $18 surcharge. In addition, hunting and fishing licenses and privileges may be taken away for up to 5 years. To report illegal wildlife activity, call your local CPW office. To remain anonymous, contact Operation Game Thief at 877-265-6648. Rewards are available if the information leads to an arrest or citation.
From the Cortez Journal, with a photo by Erica Alvary with the Journal, a statewide film tour stopped off this week at the Ute Mountain Utes Community Center in Toyoak, with a screening of 2 films focused on cultural heritage and the significance of Colorado tribal lands. The showing kicked off with a documentary made by high school students from the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation, followed by a screening of The Wickiup Investigation, produced by Rocky Mountain PBS. The screening was part of the Colorado Experience Rocky Mountain Road Show, a statewide tour presented jointly by the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media and Rocky Mountain PBS. At each stop on the tour, presenters show a half-hour episode significant to the particular location, later to be aired on television. In Toyac on Tuesday, they also screened the high school students' film Mountain Tribal Park Meditations, Blessings, and Prayers, which was created through a partnership with the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media as a way to expand film education programming on the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation. The Colorado Film Schools provided a grant for an instructor to work with 6 students on the piece last summer. Mariel Rodriguez McGill, Deputy Film Commissioner, said.
And today's High Canyon Country happenings. Tuesday, February 12th, support the local FFA with a Dove Creek FFA chili dinner and hired hand and supply auction. Dinner starts at 6 p.m. in the high school commons. Meal is $6. Children 3 and under are free. The auction starts at 7 p.m. Members are auctioned for an 8-hour day of labor as hired hands. Think spring cleaning, they say. Donated items from the community are also auctioned to raise funds for the FFA. February 1st through the 3rd in Dolores, Midwinter Ceremonial Retreat for Women at the Sophia Retreat and Event Center. That will be hosted by the She Network. Take a midwinter break with a circle of like-minded women and explore the wisdom of the divine feminine through myth and story, dance and poetry, wisdom and wine in a nourishing setting. Tickets are online at shework.net. February 2nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. join artist Cynthia Sadler to learn how to design and create your own block prints for cards, t-shirts, and more. That's at the Canyons of the Ancients Visitor Center and Museum. The cost is $45 for SCCA members and $55 for non-members. All of these happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the YouTube replays, weather, original stories, local posts. To share your event or information, contact us by email dcbnnews@gmail.com, or you can call us at the station 970-677-4119.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Thursday, and then is available online on our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page on demand.
Be sure to like us there on Facebook and join in on the news of our area, and of course, please share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook with DCTV and the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.